Hey, what's up, everybody? Thank you so much for joining another episode of Price on Purpose. Once again, I'm your host, Stacey Price, and today I have another amazing guest for you to meet. Along with me, I've got Coach Lee Hopkins. What's up, Coach Lee? How you doing
Hey,
today?
what's going on, Stacy? I'm good. I'm good. I'm feeling good today.
I love it. I love it. Where are you? Where are you at? Like, where are you located?
Right now, I'm in Chicago. I'm in Chicago. It's kind of cool weather out here. It's like I think a low 70s, high 60s, and then
Oh,
it's
that's
like in September.
nice.
Yeah,
That's nice.
it's
You ain't
we're
gonna be
going into the fall.
glistening like me, sunshine. Oh man, I would love that right now. I think yesterday was more that vibe. Today is actually hotter than I anticipated.
Mm.
Like I didn't think it was gonna be 80, and I came upstairs to the office and I'm just like, oh, we need the AC on, and I'm just like melting. It's all right though. We're gonna get through
Sometimes
it.
it's like that. I mean, I lived in the Midwest most of my life.
Mm,
So I mean, you're not too far off. You're over in New York, but the
yeah,
weather just kind of changes like that. It's like,
yeah.
ooh, it's cold. How? It
It's
was
like I
like
thought.
90 degrees today. What? Who did
I
that?
think I think we get so involved in our day to day that we're just not even paying attention until it changes. Then we're like, what the hell? It's cold outside?
If that is a metaphor for life and how we connect with people too, that is just so
100%.
real. We just get caught up in something, and until it really says, "Wake up, hey, this
Yeah,
happened." We don't pay
yeah,
attention.
exactly. I think we're gonna head into that in our discussion today. I think that's like the gist of our discussion. It's like, oh shoot, I thought I had this all planned out. Oh, this is not the case. Got it.
Mm.
So, Coach Lee, you said you're from the Midwest, so you've always been in that general area, or you hopped around a bit. Like, tell me a little bit about where you lived, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure. I grew up in Ohio. I grew up in a small town in Ohio.
Okay.
So outside of Ohio, people be like, "Oh, you so you're a Browns fan and football and all that stuff."
Right, right,
No,
right.
I actually grew up closer to Pittsburgh, a small town near
Oh, so you got
Pittsburgh.
them Steelers.
Yeah, the Steelers fan, Steelers
Mm,
fan. So I grew up there,
mm-hmm.
and it's just honestly just really felt disconnected from the people there.
Mm,
I was like searching for friendships, like everybody does, trying to create community for themselves, and I was really working hard towards that. But it seemed like everybody else had it figured out. But
mm,
I'd heard that it wasn't my fault, and I actually had to find my tribe. That was the thing. And so I ended up moving from my hometown, had an opportunity to go to college, and I went there, met new people, had all kinds of different
hmm.
backgrounds and even international students. But I still
Wicked.
felt really disconnected, still felt really lonely from those people. So I ended up moving. So it's still in Ohio, but I ended up leaving Ohio completely for the West Coast. I moved to California. I
Oh,
spent,
word. Oh,
yeah,
you got them palm trees. You were like, we need a whole
a
change. You
whole
just
change.
okay. Roger that. I'm
Yep.
following.
Yep, I moved actually to the Central Valley, so nowhere near Oakland, well, maybe 2 hours away from Oakland in the Bay
Mm.
Area, and maybe 6 hours away from LA. So nowhere where nobody really knew. It was more like desert. It was dirt.
Birdman status.
Yeah.
It's in the middle of the wilderness. Nothing.
It was. I remember I drove. I'm with a partner. I drove across country from Ohio to California, and I
Whoa.
remember rolling into California, and it was just so dusty. And it was like, oh my God, did I make a mistake? What? What am I doing here? I've never seen a tumbleweed before in my life until I moved to California. And dude, they were like, yeah, the tumbleweeds they roll through all the time. Sometimes they get as big as cars. I'm like, for real?
What?
For real? Where am I?
You're
Grew
like
up in
looking
a
around like for the runner to come out of nowhere. Like, yo, is Acme out here with some explosives? What the heck is going on?
That's exactly what it was like. It felt like that. It felt like that.
Oh man, that must be a total like. It's so interesting when I speak to people that go to new places. Like, I can't imagine. Like for me, I've been in New York all my life. I have traveled, but
Hmm.
it's mostly like to the Caribbean. Like I've been to Trinidad, I've been to Jamaica. My parents are from Jamaica, so
Oh, cool.
I've been to Jamaica. I've been to. I mean, I went to like other states when I was in school, but I never really like ventured that far out, Really. Like everything's been some sort of familiar. So I can only imagine it's like you just sitting there just watching that thing just roll. You're just like, is
It's
it
like,
gonna
wow.
stop?
Yeah, for real. It's just so strange to be in a place like this, so unfamiliar.
Right.
Unfamiliar. And so I remember speaking of weather, we talked about weather. I spent several years there,
Mm.
and coming from the Midwest, we know that there's humidity along with the heat. So you just can't escape the heat.
Mhm.
Once you go inside, you can't escape the heat. It's there.
Right.
But it wasn't like that. It was a dry heat. But they also warned me, like, hey, it's going to get hot. It's going to be like 100 degrees. And I'm like, okay. The first 2 years I
Mm.
was there, it's like, okay, whatever. It just barely got to 95. And
Right.
I'm like, I came from the Midwest. All right. We got heat and humidity. And then one year it reached 113 degrees.
What does
And
that even feel like?
I just terrible.
You
Just
said terrible.
Just terrible. It was so hot. I remember that I didn't feel like cooking, so I ordered a pizza, and they actually came and they brought a pizza to me. And I remember opening up the door for the delivery, and it felt like I was sticking my head inside an oven. It was just so hot. All I could do was just lay down, the whole day. I
With the
was just
pizza like on your stomach, just like
That's pretty
eating
much
it
it.
out of the box.
The pizza didn't even feel like it was hot.
Oh my god.
It was something else, but it was a
This is what they call
whole
room temperature pizza. You're
room
like,
temperature
yes.
pizza because it's
113
100 and something
degrees.
degrees.
Love it. Oh my goodness. So I want to ask you some questions about
Sure.
this venture because I heard you say that you felt like everybody had it all together,
Yeah.
but you didn't. So I'm curious to know if you recall around what age were you when you felt this way?
When it felt like everybody had it together,
Yeah, and you
um,
didn't.
I was probably like in my teens, early teens, when I
Mm,
was looking at how friendships were going, and I would watch what it looked like on TV. So models of what it looked like on TV. I didn't see a great example of what that looked like in my household because,
mm,
or in my family, in the family dynamics between like my aunts. They weren't really cohesive or collaborative. I didn't really see what it looked like. So I just thought, well, everybody else has it figured out and I don't. And look at the TV, look at the mainstream, how Family Matters and
oh
like,
yeah,
Family Matters is like
yeah.
we have this big dramatic moment and we cry about it and then we come to a conclusion about it. And I'm like,
Oh my
everybody
god.
has it figured out. Look at the people on TV. They are
Oh
what
my goodness.
Americans are representative of. That's
Right.
exactly what America looks like in every household and it doesn't look
Yeah.
like that in my household. So
Right.
everybody else must have it figured out.
This is
Yeah.
so, I'm only laughing
Because it's,
because this is like my life.
yeah,
Except this is the funny thing. Not only was I watching Family Matters, but this is my dynamic was looking at Family Matters and Full House.
yeah. Full House too.
So I would be like, but overall, what I looked at, I was like, wow. And I did stand up like once and I told this joke of
Stand up.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, we'll talk about that maybe later.
Well,
But
definitely.
yeah, so I did this joke about how there was an episode of Full House where Stephanie Tanner comes home and she is upset. Clearly, like little kid, when the
Hmm.
backpack is like bigger than you, that age. And she runs in the house and she just and Danny Tanner's sitting on the couch and she runs up and she's just like, he's like, "Hey, how was school today, Steph?" She runs up to her room, goes in, slams the door, face in the bed. Clearly she had a bad day, right?
Right.
So her father comes up and he knocks on the door. He's like, "Steph, can I come in?" And he's like, "What's wrong, Steph?" And she's like, "I don't want to talk about it." Right?
Mm.
Long story short, yeah, you're like, must be nice, right?
Yeah.
So the funny thing is, it's long story short, they had that heart to heart. So I was like, yo, this is what I've been doing it wrong. As a kid, I'm like, I've been doing it wrong. Maybe I need to come in my house, don't say nothing to my mom, run upstairs, and she'll finally understand that I need to talk.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, Coach Lee, I'm just going to say, long story short, it didn't work out that way.
No.
So it's so interesting. It's like I think what it is we humans, we have a way of understanding our surroundings, and for some reason we just in us want to measure where we're at based on other people's lives,
Yeah.
because we're not looking in yet. We didn't get there yet,
Right.
right?
Right.
So you found out there's some differences. How was your way of dealing with that? You said one way was moving away. What was another way that you
Uh,
dealt with that?
it was only moving away.
Oh,
to,
okay.
to be honest, I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
if
yeah.
I reflect and look back at it in different kind of forms,
Mm,
like
mm,
moving away is in hiding myself. So it's
mm,
hiding myself. So moving away from the problem, like hiding, getting away from the fear of whatever it was that
mm,
allowed people to feel connected. Like I didn't know what it was that I perceived people being connected. Like what were they doing? So that episode of, I could just picture it, a full house, her running upstairs and slamming the door and he coming to knock on her. I'm like, that doesn't exist for me.
Yo,
There's
we
nobody
don't
who,
get knocks.
yeah, not like that. Not like that. It's like, it didn't happen. That didn't happen. And so like I
Right.
didn't realize that,
Mm,
looking back at it, we can see that, all right, there's some emotional maturity, there's some connection there, and it's all about understanding your emotions more and
mm,
how to convey that and connect with people through emotion. But when I
mm,
was younger, I was just like trying to figure out, okay, well, obviously they're the problem. I'm not the problem. So I have to move
mm,
away from the problem. So I have to go find
mm,
my tribe.
mm,
So every place I was looking for my tribe. So in California, I was also looking for my tribe and did a
mm.
lot of karaoke because I discovered I loved karaoke.
Cool.
So I
Okay.
got connected with people as like a mini celebrity in the Central Valley. A lot of
Nice.
people knew my name. I walk into the bars, people knew my drink and all that stuff, high fives and everything. And it's not because I had the greatest voice. It's just because I just showed up. I was there all the time.
Mm.
I was there all the time, and I thought, well, this is it. This is the thing. This is like on the TV shows. Like the
Yeah.
people are there for you. I mean, it's like Cheers,
Right.
and
That's
I'm
exactly what I
thinking,
was thinking about.
right?
Norm. He's like,
Norm's
ah.
like, yeah, Lee. Like, what's up?
Exactly.
So people didn't know me outside of that, though. They didn't know me outside of that. And so I felt
Mm,
pretty lonely and disconnected because of that.
mm,
So I figured I started to learn more about how the world works and talking to more people, having their own experiences. And I heard something like, you have to be our authentic self. You have to be
mm,
authentic. And I'm like, I thought I was. Well, maybe there's
mm,
something that you're hiding. And so I discovered in this part of my journey.
mm,
So when let's backtrack to being in Ohio,
mm,
growing up as an adult in Ohio, growing up in Ohio in a Christian family in a Christian town neighborhood, I
mm.
was presenting as a cis female.
Okay.
And so I'm a lesbian, essentially. I became a lesbian, started dating women,
Okay.
and I wanted to hide that. I didn't feel like people should know about that because they were going to
Mm,
hate me. And I don't want to give them more reason to hate me. So I'm not being
mm,
authentic. So I go to
mm,
California and I'm like, oh, well, I feel like I don't have the correct words for transitioning, but I am open and honest about being a lesbian, but now I'm not open and honest about transitioning. I don't even know how to talk about it. I don't even know who to talk to about that. So I was hiding that. So I thought, oh, well, guess what?
mm.
Everybody else is the problem. Here in California, I've got to move. So
Wow.
I
Okay.
moved to Chicago where I am now. And that wasn't the sole reason I moved. I had a
Right.
job opportunity, but
Oh, okay.
I thought about that. I'm like, well, everybody's the problem. And sure enough, that I'm not running away from anything this time. I'm running towards something because Chicago is the second largest city in the US. And I'm going to connect with a lot of people. There's got to be lots of queer people here in Chicago.
Hmm.
And I'm going to make the friends. That's what I was thinking. I'm going to be my
Mm,
authentic self. I'm going to make the friends. And so I come here to Chicago and I meet a queer group who helped me understand more about what it means to be trans. Caitlyn Jenner was coming out at that time too. So I got lots of information.
mm.
And the job that I had also paid for the surgery. So it was like the perfect storm.
Okay.
It was great. And so
Right.
here I go. I move into Chicago. I become my authentic self. I transition from
Right.
female to male as I am now.
Okay.
And I still feel lonely. I
Hmm.
still feel terribly lonely. I still feel stuck. I still feel like no one really understands me or knows me, even though I connected with this queer group of people in the like 1% of the
Mm,
population essentially
mm,
goes through this process of transitioning physically. And here I am, part of this 1% and feeling completely disconnected from them.
mm,
Yikes.
mm,
Yeah. So I went to some therapy to kind of figure out, like, well, after some time in Chicago trying to figure out why I can't make friends, I went to therapy and I learned more about what it was that I could do,
mm,
what was it I could do to make the friendships and everything, and stopped looking outward like it's somebody else's problem. It's somebody else.
mm,
It's my tribe that I have to find. I'm not around the right people and so forth and such and such. And
mm,
then I started to get some clarity around that and started to make these friendships, started to make connections, started to understand myself a little more, a lot more. And so then that's where I became a coach. I decided that, wow, it feels so great. It feels great
mm,
to have a connection. It feels great for somebody to really understand you. So I want to help other people feel that understanding.
mm.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Okay. So you moved, although it wasn't like the forefront of your decision the second time around. The first time around, it was kind of the first decision
Yeah.
as far as like, okay, I need to find my tribe. So that was initially why you moved the
So
first time.
let me clear it up
Oh,
because
okay.
when I moved, let's say I started like 18 years old, I was at home and I
Okay.
moved to college, and the idea behind going to college was that I'm going to meet new people, I'm going to find my tribe, right?
Okay.
And then after I spent some time in Ohio, I realized, man, I'm not really finding anything here. I have a job now. After college, I have a job working in
Mm,
there, and I'm like, man, this Ohio really doesn't have anything for me here. So they happen to have an opportunity for me to move to California. And I was like, yeah, I'll drop everything. I don't care. I'm going to go.
mm,
But I'm going to go. So I went to California for a job opportunity, hoping to grow and find something more interesting. Didn't know
mm,
exactly what I was
mm,
looking for, but I was hoping that, I could meet more people, have a more interesting life. And so I moved to California and I do have that, but it's still not what I imagined. And so I
mm,
had another opportunity to move from California to Chicago, and
mm,
that was still not what I imagined. So I was like, "Well, what are you
mm,
doing, Lee? What are you doing?"
mm,
Yeah, so I was hoping to just find something different.
hmm. So it wasn't until therapy that you were like, okay, let me look at me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, it was
So
absolutely. I remember actually I was dating someone. So I had all this life experience. So I'm like, when I go to California, I'm like 26 years old. I'm sometime in California. Then I moved when I was about 31 to Chicago. So I'm in my early 30s. And I'm thinking, I have this life experience. I've had relationships that failed, and I thought I learned from those relationships. So I started to date somebody new in Chicago, and sure enough, I'm having the same kind of problems, but I didn't realize that. So they're like, you need to go to therapy. Lee, it's your fault. And I'm like, yeah, I guess it is my fault. I'm going to
mm,
go to therapy. And then I started to learn that it really was my fault
yeah,
in
we don't
therapy.
like to hear that. We're like, what?
Yeah.
No.
Yes.
No, it's a sobering moment to look
Yeah.
at yourself. I think I too have obviously had I think everyone has these experiences. I think
Hmm.
I'm actually celebrating humanity right now because we could be like, oh, humanity sucks right now and all this other craziness, but I celebrate humanity right now because I feel like there is a like a wave of awakening that's happening. Like
Yeah.
somebody tapped the domino, and now we're starting to open this whole new space that we didn't know was there. It's always been there, but we didn't know. So we're more
Absolutely.
we're more aware of it now. So looking inward is like, okay, wait a minute. Like somebody put the brakes on. What the heck do I want? And what the heck am I really doing? Like let's
Right.
like stop for a minute. What am I doing? And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, huh.
Mm.
Because you feel like do you feel like I think as a pattern, maybe unknowingly, we we think we have the manual for life, and we'd be like, oh, Step 2, all right, do this. Step 3, do this. But then all of a
Yeah.
sudden it's like, wait a minute, there is no manual. Oh, I have to make this up. Oh, I got to figure it out. You feel like
Yeah.
that?
Yeah,
Mm,
exactly. And that's how I felt too.
mm,
It's like that's why my company's called Patterns of Possibility, because I kept seeing these patterns in my life. Oh, I'm moving, I'm moving, I'm moving, still not getting the thing that I wanted. And just because I'm talking Ohio to California to Chicago, but within that, I moved several times in each of those states. And even in Chicago, I moved
mm,
many times. So
mm,
so it was all about me recognizing a pattern like, oh, right, look at your experiences, reflect on them. What are you doing? What do you really want? I didn't learn how to do that until I went to therapy when they told me essentially that I really like to say that I'm the problem, but I'm also the solution. I'm also the power.
yeah.
I like
Yeah.
to say that I'm also
Mm,
the power. Like I'm the piece to the problem. So whatever I decide that I want, I create, but I have to figure out what I want.
mm,
And to figure out what I want, I have to go around and have these experiences and figure out how I feel about those experiences. Do I
mm,
like these experiences? Do I want to keep recreating them? If I do, then what did I do to create those experiences? If I don't,
mm.
then what am I doing to create those experiences? Maybe not so much of the thing I don't want. Maybe put more effort and energy into the thing that I do
Yeah.
want.
Yeah, it's the internal questioning, it sounds like.
Absolutely.
It's I don't why do you think maybe you think we know that we should be questioning ourselves, or should we be questioning ourselves?
I think we should. I mean, I believe that our whole existence is to question ourselves and to learn more about ourselves. And furthermore, I think that's why we have friends and we have other people in our lives, because if you subscribe to this idea that there's a great consciousness and that we're all a part of it like I do, then maybe this will make sense, because we only have a piece of the information, but the game and the excitement is to explore more about who we are and what we want out of life. It's the excitement, and it'll always change.
Mm,
It'll change for us. And so we get another
mm,
person in our lives that kind of understands us. We might get sidetracked and attached to a thing, and we got a friend there who will
mm,
say, "Hey, you still want this?" And you're like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah. You still want this?" They'll tag us,
mhm,
"You still want this?" Like, "Yeah, I do. I do." Then let me help you go for it. Just kind of remind us of who we are, what we're looking for, and tap us on the shoulder if we look like we're going in a direction that we express that we don't want. Hey friend, you're going off on that road. Oh, thanks, man. I didn't realize I was going in that direction, but thank you so much. And that's just a metaphor for life. And I think we get caught up in the fact that we're going in that direction, or we're
mm,
what we're trying to get to, but it's all about the journey and having the people help us and feeling what we feel on our way to getting the thing, whatever it
mm.
is that we're looking for
Whatever
in
it is,
life.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a journey, and I think that's the thing. Sometimes maybe we're so focused on the destination, we're
Hmm.
not looking at all those intricate moments, because the signs show. It'll show to you, but sometimes we're not aware. We don't have that level of awareness. We didn't develop it yet, so we can't see it. That happened to me. Like there were certain things that would happen in my life, and somebody would be like, "Yo, did you see that?" And I'm like, "See what?"
Yeah.
I'm like, "See what?" And they're like, "Something happened." I'm being vague on purpose. And they'll
Yeah.
be like, "Oh, like this happened." And they'll be like, and I'm like, "I'm not looking at it like that. I'm not looking at it like that." And then what will happen is, not all the time, obviously, but sometimes it may happen again. And now I'm looking at it differently, because now the question changes.
Hmm.
I think that's what it is. It's like a flow chart. The question changes because things will. I try not to use this too much, but this is the best way I can explain it. There's going to be things that serve you, it sounds like. And by serve, I mean you're working on something. Like, let's say you're writing a book. I know I need a pen, I need a paper, I need this, I need that, or whatever.
Right.
And then there's going to be times where you're going to be like, okay, well, this works for me right now. This is totally what I need. But then all of a sudden, somebody presents a computer in front of your face, and you're like, how fast? I can do what with that?
Right. Right. Right.
So you're like, do I really need the pen and paper anymore? I mean, it's nice to have sometimes. You know what I mean? And I
Yes.
think it, as messed up as that scenario is, because it makes it look like people are disposable. But what I'm really trying to say is it's like a energy of 4 or not 4, if that makes sense.
What I understand from your analogy is that you've got this pen and paper. The goal is that thing that we have out in the distance, and the goal is to write a book. And we have the pen and paper, which takes time and effort. You have to write, and there are things that benefit you. You can do it anywhere. They don't have any electricity attached to it, and blah blah blah. You can do that, but then you also have this computer, which is faster, but you also have to have drawbacks, or you have to have electricity. You have to be able to type, and you have to have the programming. You have to learn how to use it. All those things that come with it. And so I think that they both serve you. It's just about, if you know what you want, it's going to be how they serve you. Like, if you know what your situation is, it's going to determine how well they're going to serve you. If you always have electricity supply, then and you know how to use a computer, well, hey, that's great for you. But if you're in the woods somewhere and you want to be secluded and you're just writing your memoir, then it's going to be,
Oops.
how well is it going to serve you? How well is it going to serve you, right? So
Paperweight, I use it as a desk.
exactly.
Oh man, yeah. It's if you don't mind me asking, how old are you now?
I'm 39.
39. Cool. So how do you feel about yourself right now? Like, you feel like you're like, yes, finally made it, or you feel like where do you feel like you're at? How do you perceive that?
Well, I feel very fortunate to be as, I guess, aware or conscious of myself as I am today. And I know that, of course, I don't believe that this is the end. I get to do this for my entire life, the rest of my life, because I'm just going to be changing, and I'm going to be discovering more about myself. And that's the journey. So I guess I'm very, very fortunate that I recognize that the journey is not to be anywhere or to do anything. It's always to feel where I am right now. And what's wonderful about this is, what I'm feeling is, I'm trying to express that. We're all trying to express that. And I guess recognizing that the purpose of my existence, for me, and I believe for other people, is to have your experience, feel your experience, and then express how you feel about your experience. Because otherwise, if we're just one great consciousness, there is nothing or no one to express it to. It just is. But we get the fortunate ability to express the little piece of consciousness that we have for other people, and that's what makes us so excited. That's what makes us so happy, or that's what makes friendships for us. It's not this is a long-winded answer to your question, but I guess one more piece to it is that I believe that the connection with people is made in how we feel about the experiences that we have. So the emotional intelligence needs to be there in order to connect with somebody. I need to be able to tell you how I feel about something so that we can talk about it. For example, we go to a movie together. I'm taking you to the movies. Let's go. What kind of movie do you like?
We're gonna watch Inception. We're gonna watch deep thinking movies. We're gonna
Okay,
watch
I'm gonna take you to
Interstellar. All right, go
we're,
ahead.
we're gonna go to a slapstick comedy. Okay, yeah, we're gonna go to a slapstick comedy, and you're gonna hate it. You're gonna hate it, and I'm
No,
gonna
I
be
might
up
like
there,
it.
and
I
I'm gonna love
understand.
it, huh?
Yeah, I understand. Just keep going.
I'm gonna take you to some movie that you dislike.
Okay, got it. Go.
Gonna take you to some movie that you dislike. I'm gonna love it though. I'm gonna be out
Yes,
there loving it. By the way, I don't like slapstick comedies. I'm just making
got
this
it.
as an example.
I know. I realize.
I'm gonna take you to this movie, and we're gonna come out of the movie. We had the same experience. We spent the same time looking at the same screen, but we feel differently about this experience. And we try to talk to each other. We're gonna bump heads. We're gonna bump heads unless somebody's got this emotional maturity and sense of self to realize that, well, I'm gonna let Stacy talk, or Stacy's gonna let Coach Lee talk about how much she loves this stupid slapstick movie. But and you're gonna have all your feelings about it, but you're gonna keep them, and you're gonna let this other person talk so that we can connect. What's one thing that happens a whole lot that I've found is that we'll go to a movie and we'll have that same experience. We'll come out of it, and somebody will have strong feelings about the movie, like, oh my God, I loved it. Did you see this, and that? And the other person will be like, it's all right. What, do you have any, did you not like it? Or did you, yeah, it's a good movie. Why? What would you like about it? It was flashy. It's hard to connect because they don't know what they want. They don't know. They weren't present for the time. They weren't present for the time that they spent in that experience. And so we are like, I can't connect with you. It's hard to connect. And when people, that's what I've discovered. I was that person. I was that person who had no idea what I was feeling or what I was experiencing. And I reflect on it and I'm like, oh yeah, I did this, I did that, I did that. But when I was at that time in that present, I didn't know anything about myself or what I was looking for. And that kept me really disconnected and lonely. It's not that people don't like you, Lee.
Right.
It's that people don't even know you.
Heavy.
Right.
Heavy. It's heavy because it's, oh man, I don't even, you made me speechless. It doesn't happen a lot. That's amazing.
That's dope. I mean, I'll take that as a great compliment.
It is. No, it is. It is because, I think, even with me or, I think many people, because I always like to look at, I just look at everything, and I observe and my perception, I don't have any data around this, but I'm pretty sure something would point to human evolution and something would point to our growth pattern that when we're young, we heavily depend on the people around us to take care of us. And then all of a sudden in that teenage realm, some kids, it happens a little younger, but majority of us around that teenage realm, we transition from I need you to help me versus I'll help myself. You know what I mean? I got this. I want to take control now. I've been spending years studying. Yeah. I've got this,
Yes.
But then there's still people around like, you ain't got it yet. You're like, no. I got this. But everybody's just like, nah, like you don't have it. And then there's this war because not only is the war outside, it's inside because you're like, what if they're right?
Right.
What if this is, so then sometimes we default, right? We go back to, I'm going to do what they say. But the reality is what we should be doing is, maybe we should still fight back and stuff, but we still need to have that peace to understand who we are. But we all don't get it.
Right.
Because sometimes we're in environments where we don't even like that is like suffocated.
Okay? Yes. That is spot on.
That's how I like observe it at least. And I'm pretty sure there could be some data, but I don't have it today. So for all my science people, they're like, where is it on page 47? I don't have it. but take a look because Lee, I was even looking at, there was a couple, I spent a lot of time online doing research and hence, I'm grateful that we connected via Reddit. So Reddit is a place where I sometimes just jump in just to see what the hell's going on. It is such an interesting place. Yo, it is heavy. Like some people are like, what the hell is Reddit? If you don't know what Reddit is, like Google it. Yeah. And you'll see like, and I look at it from a perspective of just look at humans. Just look at us for a second. Like if you're an alien, just take a look. What do you see? And I'm like, oh shit. Like, you know what I mean? But at the same time, there is an ebb and flow. It flows, it works, it just does. As weird as it may seem, it moves and it's a living organism. But
right.
I was curious of why in the hell would suicide be so heavy in certain communities, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's our community, a trans community, Black community, whatever it is, like, why is it high? And then, I'll never forget on Tumblr, I came across a suicide note from a young child that was in that moment of trying to understand who they were. And I think they were leaning towards being trans. I can't remember if it was leaning towards being trans or coming out as liking someone of the same sex. I can't recall. But what I do recall the most, I said, why the hell is it in our teens we're losing the kids? Why are we losing them? And I'm like, it's that war that's inside and out.
Yeah.
And we don't yet have the ability not only to articulate in a space where we feel comfortable, but the space isn't comfortable because we don't perceive it as comfortable for us to actually be ourselves. So we either lock in and self-destruct, or somehow somebody gets to us in time, or somehow we hold on a little bit longer to see it through. I just want us to hold on just a little bit longer to see it through, because that's why I love conversations like this, because you're highlighting what I'm kind of seeing. It's like we're in that moment of trying to find out who the hell we are.
Right.
So we may run, we may duck, like we all show it differently, but we don't know how we show it because we don't know who we are yet.
Right. You know, I think that is marvelous. That's a great way to put it. That's also what I've observed too. I've experienced it, and I've also observed that in other people, because I'm on Reddit, you're on Reddit. I see all the people like in the friendship advice or the friendship threads, or like, I'm so lost, I'm so lonely. Yeah, the deep confessions.
Those are tough. Yo, I'll be like, my God. I'm like, this is real? Like, even if it's not, like, damn, that's a crazy story. But even if it is, I'm like, yo,
Stranger than fiction.
Sometimes I'll be like, yo, you know, the store didn't have the water I needed, and I'm pissed. They didn't have the water I needed. But then here's somebody going through something like for real. And I'm just like, I was complaining about water.
Yeah. It's kind of makes you doubt yourself a little bit. Like, should I feel this way about water?
Yeah, but like, is it that necessary? No, but in all seriousness, yeah, I'm like, what do you think it is, Coach Lee? Like, what time should we, like, how do we know when's the right time to start opening up to ourselves like this? Like, how do we know? Like,
well, as far as the right time, I think any time is the right time for us. But the phenomenon that you were describing is something that I talk about, is the truth of who you are. And my definition of the truth is your feeling about an experience that you've had. That's it. And the ability to know what that feeling is something that we lack. We can't really know what the feeling is. And to be able to express that to another person makes us feel like we're seen and heard. And if we don't know what we feel, and we don't know how to express that to another person, and furthermore, if we don't have people who are interested in hearing it, we feel lonely.
Yeah.
We're lost. We're done. We feel like there's no point. There's no point. And then it's like I don't have the words to express how I feel. I don't have anybody interested in helping me understand to express how I feel. I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm checking out. I'm done. And so I think that knowing those and listening to shows like this, where we're talking about that, like, hey, you understand how I feel in this moment. I can't have the words to it. I don't have the words, but I feel really lonely. And here's why. That's going to help people understand themselves a little more.
Yeah.
Knowing that they can get away from this in a way. But so that's the start of understanding it, just looking inward. So the emotional intelligence, listening to ourselves, having that space. And to your point, you've said that we just don't have sometimes we don't get the space to do that, especially when we're minors. We're living under a parent's roof. You got to be this way. You got to do it this way. And you've got an internal dialogue and you've got an external dialogue. Well, they're bigger than me. They've been here longer. I guess they know more. No, they don't. You're an expert on you. Yeah, you're an expert.
They don't know you. They know them.
They know them.
That's such a major key right there, because that's what I was trying to point out as far as like being a child, because you're new here. You're brand new.
Brand
so
new.
you're like this. You're a parent. Okay, so you're gonna tell me, so don't put my pants on like that. That's a no. Oh, okay. This is the rule.
Yeah.
Okay, do this. And all of a sudden we're like, wait a minute. I don't like that. I don't like that. And they'll be like, you don't like that? No. And they'll be like, something's wrong with you. You're like, oh, something's wrong with me. I have to fix me. And then you're over here trying to fix, but it don't feel right. Because it was right the first time you said it.
Right. Exactly.
That's what I had to realize. Like, it's so funny because I do feel like in that 30-year range, because I'm like, why is it me, this person, we all in that same age group. All of a sudden we're like, I feel like I kind of know myself now. 30 years. Some people it's 50, some it's 80.
Yep.
That's the thing too. I wanted to point out, it doesn't mean that if you're in your 30s and you ain't doing it yet, you ain't in the right place. Because society will do that real quick. Be like, you still do what?
You got it wrong.
You still do what?
Wrong.
What they're saying is they don't still do that. They don't. I don't know if you know about Casey Neistat. Do you know who he is?
No.
Oh shoot. All right. He's like a major YouTuber. Major. When was I? I think I was in my 20s? Maybe in my 20s, late 20s or so. I always wanted to learn how to skateboard. Like, I thought it was like the best sport ever. I was like, oh my God. Like, I used to watch Matt Hoffman, Tony Hawk, like,
but you're black.
What? Yeah. What? Who am I gonna talk to, Coach Lee? I'm just like, hey guys, you're like, yo, you're lame. Well, he didn't say I was lame. I don't talk like that, but we don't talk like that. We can't say lame, you know what I mean? But that's the thing. That's why I think I kind of align with a lot of the things that you've been through. I think it was, we have our own experiences, obviously, but there is similarities to these patterns because it's like, all of a sudden align with something. So I love skating and everything. And then I was like, man, and I actually bought a skateboard, but I never used it. I didn't have anybody to teach me at the time. So I was like, oh my God. And it wasn't until I watched his videos. Mind you, he don't look like us. Okay. White man. He don't look like us.
Right.
But it was the fact that, and that's not even how I absorb content. Some people be like, yo, watch people like you. I'm like, yes. But I'm also going to watch people not like me because I want the full picture. I want to know what are we going through as a people.
Right. Exactly.
So that long story short, I saw him skateboarding. I'm like, look at this grown man. He's older than us. Skateboarding through New York City. I'm like, hold on a second. It was my perception. I perceived that skateboarding was for kids. And then because I was in that alignment, I only saw that in society.
Right.
So if anybody maybe passed that was above that age, I wouldn't see it because my mentality was focused on skateboarding's for kids.
Right.
All of a sudden, I see something that debunked that. And I'm like, oh, shoot. Taught myself how to skateboard. Boom. We in there now.
Right.
There's no shame associated. Because I think that's also something I wanted to talk to you about as far as with shame. And dealing with that. Did you experience any shame in your evolution as far as
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I experienced a lot of shame in that, wanting to hide who I am or my thoughts. And so it started to come where I started to understand more about myself, and then I started to know myself, and I felt ashamed of myself. So I wanted to hide those things. And then I realized that shame really doesn't do too much. It's there for a reason. It exists for a reason, but I believe it's more of a doorbell. It's more of a wake-up call. Like your actions don't align with your values. So you can either sit here and shame and complain about the fact that those two don't align, or you can actually do something different, or you can actually change your values. Like whatever it is, you can do the thing, but don't get stuck in the shame. Like society may tell you, hey, you need to do this differently.
Yeah.
Well, you can listen to that, and you can sit in shame and believe that your actions don't align with your values, or you can change your values to align with society and be happy if that's possible for you. But if it's not, then do you, basically. Do you. So that's what I discovered. Yeah. And I relate to the skateboarding thing too. I relate to that. Yeah.
Tell me more.
Well, only because when I was a kid, I had a skateboard, and I used to tell people with my brother's skateboard because all the guys would look at me like, "What are you doing with the skateboard?
Hmm.
Girls don't skateboard." I'm like, "Oh man, well, there's a lot of things that girls don't get to do, I guess." But just kind of
Mm,
carrying that kind of thing, and it just points to the fact that when you're looking at somebody else to teach you, like when you're looking at the YouTube channel, and you're not
hmm.
looking for somebody to I don't know, be exactly like you, but it's the feeling about the experience that you wanted. You weren't looking for another person that looked like you. It was like the feeling of being joyful in the experience. And you saw
Hmm.
yourself in this person who was just
Hmm.
skateboarding and having
Yeah,
fun. And that's all you wanted to do is
that's all I
skateboard and
wanted.
having fun.
I want to know what that
Yeah.
freedom feel like.
That's what it felt like for me too. Like I
Yeah.
saw, so back to your stand-up comedy, I actually took a stand-up class.
Nice.
Took a stand-up class and had a lot of fun with the class. And I was like, I just wanted to have this experience where I wrote jokes and I stood on stage and was
How'd it
hoping that I could
go?
connect with people there. But it was fun. Yeah, it was
Go.
fun. Uh,
Oh,
and I'm
you
like,
gonna
I
do it
might,
again?
no. I just don't have the capacity for it right now.
Got it.
But it
Got
was a
it.
lot of fun. And
Yeah.
I've also heard that improv would be a lot of fun too.
Yes.
Like,
Yo, it's so funny. I was just telling my girlfriend, I was like, yo, we gotta do improv. We gotta do it. She's like, yeah. She's kind of quiet, but
hmm.
not that quiet. You know how it is. It's like you're quiet, but then when you're around people, you're like, oh my
Oh my
God, like
god,
that.
yeah.
So
Like,
yeah,
do the most.
exactly. Exactly. So I was like, you know what, let's do it. Because I think that's the thing, there's no time to have it all together. I
Right.
don't think it's on a piece of paper and it's like, oh shoot, missed my mark. You know what I mean? I don't think there is a time.
Mm.
I think it's about having fun discovering.
Yeah, that's what I think so too. I think it's about having fun and discovering yourself and how you feel about things in your life and the things that you're good at, the things that you're not so good at, and just being like, oh, I'm not so good at that. Maybe I'll try
Hmm.
again. Maybe I won't. Oh well. I'm not going to fall into a puddle. I'm not going to scream about how I don't have it together. Uh, That's what
Man,
it is.
my temper tantrums used to be wild, man. A whole week, I'm like, I can't do anything, and I'm just like depression. You know what I mean? It
Mm.
would just be like full on shutdown mode. Now it's maybe like I give myself a few minutes. I think that's where I'm like,
Give
I
yourself some
got a
time.
couple of
Give
minutes.
yourself some grace. Yeah, it's like, whew, I get
Yeah,
depressed. I mean, we all have to feel. We need the up and the down. We won't know.
yeah,
We
yin and
just can't.
yang.
Yeah, we just can't exist in one plane because we don't know what it. We won't know. We won't have the gratitude to feel the other one. So
Oh
I
yeah,
think it. I know we're probably running out of time here, but I'll just touch on gratitude really quick. I mean,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Go
for the
ahead.
up and the down, the light and the
Hmm.
dark, the shadow work that we have to do when you're down and you're feeling depressed, you need to recognize that you are there and there's some work that you need to do while you are there. And so having the ability to go to that space is what I've learned from TikTok, a whole lot of stuff from TikTok. I'm telling you,
Yo, insane, right?
all kinds of crazy stuff from
You were
TikTok.
just
But
like,
the
somebody said
spiritual
something, you're like,
awakening,
what?
yep, like what is this? Oh, word, that makes sense to me. I didn't even think about it that way. I keep getting all that stuff. So have the gratitude to be able to go into the space and realize that, well, depression is part of life. Anxiety is
Mm-hmm.
also part of life. And
Mm-hmm.
this is what I'm experiencing. And I'm supposed to be here. I'm supposed
Yeah.
to feel it for something, even though it sucks. It
Oh, it
sucks.
sucks.
It doesn't feel
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. It's funny to me now because now things that I used to, I enjoyed in the past, like I look at it and I'm looking at it totally differently now.
Hmm.
Like when Kevin Hart had his special laugh at my pain,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
it's like, you know, I think that's why I love comedy so much because it's like that's exactly what it is. Like I think we get to a point if we give ourselves the time, um, we get to the point where we could actually laugh at it. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that's where we start to free ourselves, because I don't think freedom is an external thing. Like I want the freedom to work this. Yeah, we throw that word around, but I think the real freedom is not being chained to anything, just allowing the ebb and flow in our emotions to go as it should.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's kind of like what Bruce Lee was even saying. It's like, be like water. You know what I mean? You want to be able to just be fluid, just
Yeah.
kind of like be,
Yes,
if anything,
exactly.
just be. You're not attached to anything. Like, I am only attached to happiness. I will always be happy. No,
Oh
just
my
just
God.
be. Just be. Just be.
I can only be happy with that's said with such intensity to
Yeah, like I
people
can
are
only be
like,
happy.
you remember Ren and Snippy? Have you ever?
Yes.
Okay,
I
the
didn't really
happy,
watch it,
happy,
but I
joy,
know of
joy.
it.
Oh,
I know of that.
Ren, I just wanted you to be happy. The mind control device. It's like such intensity.
Oh,
It's so painful.
it's so much, because even me currently, sometimes I'll be fighting my anxiety. I'm like, why are you fighting it? Just let it be. And I'm like, oh
Hmm.
shoot. I reminded myself, and then I'll start laughing to myself, and everybody's like, you're freaking crazy. And I'm like, you don't understand what's happening. I'm having a moment with me.
Yeah,
And it's
exactly.
funny. Okay. It's freaking funny that I'm fighting something that's happening naturally.
And you
Like,
know that it's futile to fight too. You know that this it's
yeah,
not going
like
to do anything.
it's
And you
not
catch
gonna
yourself
work.
doing that, and you're like, this don't make any sense.
But just have it.
Ah.
Yeah, have it.
Yeah.
You're just like, I'm just gonna keep fighting it. I'm angry. I'm not gonna be angry right now. I'm just gonna be totally happy. And then you're smiling with like your eyebrows down. Coach Lee, I had a great conversation with you. Where are we going to find you on social media to connect with you, just in case we want to learn more?
Wonderful. I did a great time chatting with you too. And you can find me at patternsofpossibility.com and on all social media at Patterns of Possibility. You can find me on Reddit for sure. And you can also find me on TikTok. I'm usually on there.
Dope. Thank you. Thank you so much. Do you have any final thoughts to share with us?
Final thoughts to share with you. I want to let you know that your experience is not unique. There's
Mm,
somebody out there waiting for you to talk about your experience, what you're feeling, what's going on in your life. They want to hear about you just as much as you want to tell someone. So I encourage you not to be afraid and share your truth.
thank you so much. Very well said. I'm going to go ahead and drop the outro, and then we'll talk for a few moments.
All right.